I'm Ricky.
And I'm Joe, and this is Season 8, Episode 21 of the Beer and Broadband Podcast. It's slated to come out on November 17th, 2025, and we're just going to get right into it. Hopefully not as long as last episode. Well, let's comment on the cider that we had last time. That was the Angry Orchard Headless Pumpkin. We let it warm up. We did notice that there was a little bit more of like apple flavor that came out. It muddied the flavors of the spices a little bit, but for the most part, wasn't bad warmed up. I still would drink it cold. I feel like it was better cold. I don't know if you have a disagreement on that.
No, it's a good accurate assessment. With almost any sweet drink, because you taste less sweet when it's cold. The sweetness came out more, made it taste more like the fruit, a little bit less like the spice.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say one's better or worse, but I think I did also prefer it a little bit colder.
Yeah. So we're looking at the Dogfish Head Craft Brewery Punkin Ale. It's a fall release special brew for this fall, 2025. And it is a full-bodied brown ale brewed with real pumpkin. I almost said pumpkin. Brown sugar, allspice, nutmeg, and cinnamon. Enjoy smooth pumpkin and fall spices.
Yeah, I mean it's a decent beer. And maybe that's a bad way to sell it, but it's not offensive. It's a little pumpkin-y. It's a little bit spiced. I wouldn't say it is really strong in any particular one dimension, but also considering a lot of holidays we have are just like holiday beers are just bad.
Yeah.
This isn't bad. This is a pretty standard brown ale with a little bit of that kind of vegetal melaniness of the pumpkin, and just a little bit of spice, and even less spice than the cider, but it's not offensive. I mean, it's a good sipping beer. If you like Dogfish stuff, which I think that's probably going to be the decider here.
Yeah.
And I don't drink enough of their beers to maybe make that as an authoritative statement, but I would imagine, you're not going to come to this because you're like, I really want a pumpkin something. It needs to be pumpkin, or it really needs to be spice. This isn't either one of those. It's a very good sipping brown ale. If you like their other beers, you're probably also really going to like this one. If you don't like their beers for some reason, you probably also won't like this one.
Yeah, I agree with that, because they're like beers always have like a little extra bitter hoppiness to them, that some people would like, some people wouldn't like. It's kind of like tea, like sometimes when you brew tea, you over extract a little bit, or you do this. Some people like that, some people don't. You can add a little bit of bitterness to it. This is just the style that they brew in generally, and I don't hate Dogfish Head stuff. I don't like their IPAs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But like their ales and stuff like that are generally okay. I won't like get rid of them for no reason. But I think your assessment's perfectly accurate. As someone who has drank a lot of pumpkin related stuff this season, and we did a whole bunch of them this fall. I think that this is probably in the lower tier of things that we've drank that are pumpkin related. It's definitely not that perfect beer that we had for Halloween and the one before. There's like two really great pumpkin beers that were all the fall spices and everything. This is a little bit more like muddied together. You can tell that it's there, but it's not like stand out. It's just kind of there, But if you like this type of beer, it's a good one. It's a good one to sit by the campfire and drink. It's not a great one.
Yeah.
So do with that what you will. Try it if you'd like to. Don't try it if you won't. So AI gets brain rot similar to humans. I would like to start this by saying, who'd have thunk? Who'd have thought that something that develops a neural network, if it's exposed to things that causes that neural network to feel whatever it needs to for its like reward system, for humans, it's like
all just pattern recognition.
If that was the case, then it would get like the same sort of problems. I don't really have much else to say about that other than, yeah, it kind of seems like that would happen.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really good they've done the study
Right.
because like it gives a lot of credibility to it. But also, I think it surprises no one, especially anyone that works with data. Like if you have to do even just like not AI data stuff, if you've got bad data coming in, if you've got bad quality stuff coming into your system, you're not going to get good quality stuff coming out of your system.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of the problem is that humans are not driven by quality in the sense of accuracy of information, format of information, things like that. We are, at the end of the day, social creatures
Mm-hmm.
that receive our engagement impulses based off of social things and very physical animal things. Like, does something look tasty? Like, a lot of I see all these like AI food videos, their own AI generated brain rot. That like you just mute it. I don't care what the AI is saying. It's pictures of tasty food, and
Yep.
that's what people are watching for. And you know we're still animals at the end of the day. As awesome and amazing, wonderful animals as we are, we spend the vast majority of our time on Earth worrying about how we're going to get food.
Yep.
Not even an evolution topic. Even if you don't believe in evolution, if you think the human species is only like 14,000 years old, which is about how long, true agriculture, as we would call it, agriculture
Right.
has been around. Like, you can say they have farms. Like, we're not hunter gatherers in a lot of places of the world anymore. Food was hard to find.
Yeah.
People starved all the time, and you needed that food, and you had to be driven for food, all and be with your tribe and all your little social stuff. You know, who would have thunk? So, yeah, it was a very interesting read. It was good to see that we can show that, hey, this kind of content farming that we do because it speaks to people at like a primal entertainment level because it's taken almost like all of the civility out of content generation and just gotten to the core crux of what makes the brain say good.
Right.
If you only give it that, it stops being able to do the stuff that is not what makes the brain say good.
Right.
You know.
Well, I mean, not just that. There is a whole set of, if AI is to be more accurate, it should be able to overcome these things. By proving that it's flawed in this way means that its accuracy is going to be in doubt.
Oh yeah, I mean that's true.
Yeah.
I think maybe we talked about it before. I don't know. I talk about AI with so many people. I really do struggle sometimes to remember what's been on the podcast and what hasn't. But like, I think that was a big problem with like when we start feeding social media and Reddit into AI models. And I think that's a big proponent of why earlier like chat GPTs were better than more recent chat GPTs.
Mm-hmm.
I've not done anything. I think 5's not right. I haven't done anything with 5 yet. I think some people are able to beta 5.
Yeah, I don't think that we're. I don't think that we're there. I haven't messed around with it in a while. I've been playing with my own experiments.
Yeah.
Either with.
I know. I know. I was reading an article that's almost like, hey, like a lot of the newest generation of some of these things is way less personable. Like they don't talk to you like people anymore. They do try and talk to you more like almost like a businessman.
Right.
And some people really didn't like that because of the people who had formed parasocial relationships with AIs,
Right.
and were treating them more like their friends. Suddenly didn't talk to them like their friends anymore. But I think a lot of the reason why you have to get rid of some of that is once you throw like Facebook and Reddit and YouTube comments and stuff like that into your this is how people interact with each other, yeah, it's gonna start acting like the way the internet treats each other, which is not great.
No, it's not.
People on the internet are mean to each other. People on the internet are dumb to each other. I mean, oftentimes intentionally. Like a lot of things is just like shitposting, where like the whole goal of it is you're doing something stupid you would never actually do, but you kind of do it on the internet because you're hoping to get a rise out of somebody.
Right. Or to
You know.
gain some sort of benefit for in some other way. Right.
Yeah, it's like you're purposely being dumb to cause a reaction. The AI doesn't know that. They're just like, good point.
Yeah.
Tongue and butt 280 or whoever.
Tongue and butt. Yeah. So AI gets brain rot. AI has all sorts of other like problems with hallucinations and stuff like that. AI is not dependable. It's good at some things, but a lot of the things that we try to get it to do, it's not good, and it's not your friend, and it's not like your lover, and it's not your other thing. It's not none of those parasocial relationships that we develop is AI.
Yeah,
You know.
it's so interesting. You know, we work with so much with AI in our jobs now,
Hmm.
and like, I'm not gonna lie. I mean, a lot of the things that we work with for work are actually pretty good. Like, but also like you pull the veil back because you know I work closely with some of the people who are developing some of
Hmm.
this stuff, and it's like there's so much work being put into it. Like you look at the flow of these data models that they've got like support centers working on, and they're so involved and they're so like it's hard sometimes. Like it's all AI, but it's hard sometimes to draw that line for people to understand that like when when a company is taking it really seriously and they're really trying to find a good use case and they're trying to really manicure what they're doing, it can be a good utility. And it's still kind of just a utility. Like it's not going to replace people, but it becomes a very valuable tool because they've put in the thousands of man hours to really manicure it and make it happy versus the you logged into a chat bot and that chat bot is just talking to you, or you did a search for information and it's coming back and talking to you,
Right.
like that those like those purely just large language model and the only value they have is, well, I was just trained on the internet.
Right.
How less useful that stuff is compared to like the real true use cases for AI. So yeah, I mean, don't don't put Reddit in your training data. Don't do it. I'm on Reddit. I like Reddit. I'm in several subreddits. I don't even post in them.
Right.
I read the articles that come in with a grain of salt and I use it for consumption. And gosh, I don't think I've ever commented on anything. I'm pretty sure my like 8-year-old Reddit account because there's never been a point for me to try and talk with somebody on Reddit. Right? Like that's just not what Reddit is.
I've commented on a few things in my time on Reddit, but generally it's like either something to encourage someone to do something, or
Yeah, if you're on
it's
like a more compassionate kind of, it's more like a human community subreddit.
well, yeah,
Yeah.
but or it's like something like someone's like, I have this problem. How do I solve this problem? And I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, all right, this is how you like would troubleshoot your network to be able to like figure out whatever this
Yeah,
problem is
yeah.
with your server or your
Which,
network gear or something like
yeah,
that.
to be fair, those things are in my mind a lot better than the like our relationship advice and these like true just brain rot subreddits.
Yeah,
But you know,
I don't
even
think
then,
I even like spend much time on brain rot
yeah,
subreddits because I
th-
just don't
they
like.
show up on my feed. And I don't read them too often, but like that's what I think of when I think of Reddit. Because truly, even though my stuff is really manicured towards me,
Right.
the brain rot's still there.
Yeah.
Like it'll eventually pop up with things like, oh yeah, that's every 5 it'll be something I actually am interested in. But then I got to go through 4 of it wasn't because
The
that's what's popular.
commercials and the populars and all that other stuff, and
Mm-hmm.
that is really the problem with Reddit, is why I don't use it as much anymore, like just to like go through and see what people are talking about, unless
Mm-hmm.
I'm specifically looking for something in a specific subreddit. I don't go to Reddit just to like read anymore,
Yep.
because it is like full of ads and stuff that
Mm-hmm.
is just all, hey, we because you looked at something that looked like this in the past, because I might have like let my feed sit there and pause on that while I
Yeah.
was like looking away or something.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, oh, we're going to send you 100 of those.
You know, I'm gonna take it a step farther. I use Reddit a lot for like, especially if I have questions. Oftentimes now, if I type something into Google, I'll put Reddit in there because I really
Yep.
want to hear what Reddit has to say more than what a stupid AI thing is going to generate. But like, I'm taking my health more seriously, going to the doctor more. I'm getting on some medications, and I grew up in a very rural community with not great doctors. They weren't bad doctors, but like you kind of just did what the doctor said. The doctor you had a problem. The doctor gave you your thing, and that
Mm-hmm.
was kind of the end of the discussion. And now that I live in a bigger city and medicine's kind of advanced the way it has, this becomes a sit down. They said, hey, you've got this problem. There's a big slew of medications that you can be on for this problem. Which one would you like to be on? And that's not a question I was prepared to answer. So it's like, let me get back to you on that. So then I went and did my research on like all the medicines that I was recommended and stuff like that. But since doing that, I'm now getting recommendations for similar medications
Right.
that then when I go and look them up, I find out they're not even FDA approved.
Right.
They're like different format. Like it's the same chemical, but it's in a different format that's never been tested. So like I'm on these are like the Zepbound injections. I'm using a generic for that. But then, I struggle a little bit with needles for reasons I don't really understand because they don't hurt. There's just, I don't know, the psychological of like my body saying, you shouldn't stab yourself.
Right.
Stabbing yourself isn't a good thing. Even though it doesn't hurt and it's always fine. Literally, I was talking with a doctor doing my blood work, and it's like, I don't know why. This didn't used to be a problem when I was younger, but now, like, I think after I had a bad blood draw experience, like at this point over a decade ago, just like the little apprehension around needles happened. And it's just like, I just don't know what it is. It'll take me 20 minutes to take that injection. And every single time, every single week, because it's a weekly injection, every single week, I say, that wasn't bad. Why did that take me 20 minutes to do that? But the next week, I still do it again. But anyway, getting off of that, it was advertising to me an oral version of that medication. I was like, hot damn, if this was a daily pill and not something I had to inject once a week, this would not be a problem. So I look it up and I'm like, it's a comparable price. This is great. And then I go take it to like, all right, are there any different side effects? Because now it's like an oral medication and stuff. And there's like, this is not FDA approved. It's like, why the fuck is Reddit telling me to take it?
Why is Reddit even like suggesting stuff to you like medicate? Why is it in the business of doing that? Oh, because it's for profit and money and advertisements and stuff like that.
Yeah, and it's like, and there's not in that ad, there's not a big little chart saying, hey, not FDA approved for this use or anything like that. They're just like, boom, get this in, oral daily pill, no more needle. And I was like, that sounds great. And just again, I know we've talked about this before. Not everybody does as much research as we do.
Right.
And, realistically, our listeners, I imagine most of our listeners are probably in the IT industry or, at least have like brewing as a hobby, which is not a very research heavy hobby. Probably almost everybody listening to this does more research than just the average. Pick a random person at the 50th percentile of the population, So like, fuck, how many people are on this medication that we don't know if it does anything bad if you take it orally?
Yeah, I mean, who knows? Because people, I mean, think about all the stuff that people just put in their bodies. That it doesn't matter globally. People put things in their body that they think are good for them, and they're not.
And see, here's my thing. At least to be carried in a lot of stores, because I listened to a nutritionist who did a wonderful, dietitian that did a wonderful talk on this, of what he had of like the 5 levels of supplements, where he was like, tier 1 is like, we know it does something good. We've like tested it. It's been proven in a lab. And like, it does what it says it does. It doesn't have bad side effects. And there's really not a lot of things in that topic. I mean, he was starting to list things that most people I don't think would consider a supplement, like whey protein.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, we know whey protein works. Whey protein is protein. It's protein from milk. It works. Yeah. If you put it in water and drink it, it behaves in your same body as if it had been milk. Like it works. Like creatine and stuff like that. And then it was like, and now tier 2 is we're pretty sure it works, but we don't have consistent data. And that's already 2 of 5 of a we think maybe it works. And then it keeps going down to level of like the 5s. And then his 5s were like, and 5s you can't even get in stores because not only do they not work, we've proven that they're bad for you.
Right.
Or they're not approved for human use. And so you just can't get them. But I feel like with this online store, like come buy it from my compound pharmacy, the 5s are getting through. We've never been tested. That could cause cancer in your intestines, and we don't know because it's truly never been tested. It's not FDA approved, and it's just like, no approval at all is the crazy thing to me for that format. Because like I'm on a drug right now that my doctor prescribed me that is not FDA approved for what I'm on it for. Now it is an FDA approved drug for a different use. Mm-hmm. So really, I'm on it for what is like the side effects of that drug. Mm-hmm. And like, I'm okay with that because then the FDA at least said, hey, a person took it in this exact format for however many years and didn't die or had some real problem. So we know it's okay for at least general consumption. But the no FDA approval at all, get out of here.
Yeah, that's crazy stuff. That's crazy talk.
I never got out of a website so fast. I was like, what in the world is this? Because literally, if I hadn't found that, I was ready to buy it. I was like, oof. And it's like, it's the same prices I'm getting for the injections. I way prefer a pill format. I'll just do that. I will take these little extra meds and return them or, Because ultimately there are prescribed. I know somebody else with a prescription. You can just have them or something like that. It'd be fine. I have $600 worth of drugs in my fridge that I would just throw away and switch to this pill if I could. And I would have done it, man. I would have done it. But there it was. Crazy stuff.
I'll tell you, the pills, the other things like that, I kind of would prefer an injection. I have to take an injection once a week, and even though I don't love getting stuck with a needle,
Mm-hmm.
I only have to do it once a week.
You don't
If
have
I
to
could do
do
it
it
once a month, I'd only have to do it once a month, and I'd be happy about that.
See, that's true. I mean, like, if I could go into a doctor's office once a month or
Yeah,
however many months, that you're right. I'd probably prefer that more than the pills. I just don't know what it is for me. This the psychological disconnect of, and like it's not a fear of it hurting
right.
or anything going wrong. It's just that I'll literally have the needle pressed up against my skin and not be able to push it further. My body just locks up and it's like, are we really stabbing ourselves today? Is stabbing, is putting a needle in your body a good thing for you to do?
Yeah, yeah,
And it's like, yes, it is. It's fine. But there's just something, and it does, I think, relate back to that bad blood draw.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it probably wasn't even bad for them. I don't know what happened. They didn't know what happened.
Yeah.
I'm not upset at the doctor that it happened with or anything like that. But they went to do a blood test on me one time and I passed out.
Yeah.
And like immediately. Like not a like, oh, we accidentally drew too much blood or you weren't in a good state. Like that needle went in and I just lost consciousness. And I guess, and then my body just decided, you know what? Needle's bad. Don't do that.
That's very possible. I mean, I've had some things like that happen to me.
Yeah.
Thankfully, I've never passed out from getting an injection or blood drawn or anything like that. But I've had a few times where I've passed out from damage to my body.
Yeah.
And it was like minor damage, but like it just happened in like the right spot, and it just like
yeah, I'm sure it was just like a pinched nerve or something like that, or who knows.
Yeah.
You know, something happened there. Because I'm getting all this blood work now that I'm going to the doctor. The blood work's fine.
Yeah.
Like I have to look away. Like I still get a little nervous about it. But when someone else is doing it, it's not like I fight it. Like I don't freak out about it. It's just literally, I'll be pep talking myself for 20 minutes. Like just inject it. It's right there. Just inject it.
Yeah, I think the worst thing is the rubber thing they put around for the tourniquet.
Yeah.
That rubber tourniquet will like pull on my skin for some reason.
Oh, really?
And, like it bothers me. Like that is a new sensation for me, and I think that probably has to do with PTSD.
Oh, probably. Yeah.
And so like I have them put it over my shirt.
Yeah.
So that it doesn't bother me. But I don't mind the sensation of it tightening on my arm. It's of it when they pull it around, like that rubbing against my arm, just like. It's like, yeah, I need to crawl out of my skin and get away.
See, again, back to bring out, we're animals.
Yeah.
We're sitting here as the most evolved creatures on the planet, talking to you through a web broadcast. You're downloading it into your wireless headset. And we're told you're like, man, needles and rubber suck. I don't know.
All right,
we have gone
way off topic. Way off topic. Let's talk about Amazon. Amazon replacing 600,000 workers with robots. So Amazon's been on this thing, and they've got like robots that do a pretty good job, and then robots that don't do as well.
Yeah.
And like you get people telling you both sides of that story, depending on who it is and what their motivations are and stuff like that.
And also where they draw the line on good.
Right. But you could say that both sides of that argument are not objective. They have like a dog in that fight, so therefore they have like a little bit of a skewed view of it. But I think objectively, 600,000 people losing jobs to robots without a plan for what to do with them at the warehouse work is a skill.
Yeah.
I worked in a warehouse when I was younger, and many jobs ago, and I still use those skills to be able to help people. Like during Christmas, I'll go and I'll work at like this food pantry warehouse, and I'll help them like organize their food, and I'll help them like move things around like they need to, and like repack things and stuff like that. And that was all skills that I learned to be able to manage and work when I was in my early 20s. And even though it's not something that's as difficult to learn as what I learned for like my job, it still took time to like kind of gain those skills, to learn how to do them, to like get some of the like tricks of the trade, so to speak, under my belt. It wasn't something that I just learned like in 2 days and I was done.
Yeah.
And I know there are people out there to be like, yeah, you know, it's easy work. You can just go in there and anybody can do it. But if they really sat down and thought about how long it took them to be able to learn how to do these things and to do it well and to get the muscle memory to do it and everything, it takes time. It's an investment, and it's an investment in your employees. And now what Amazon is saying is we're going to take most of our staff that does this sort of work that robots can physically do, and we are going to replace them with those robots. And we don't have a plan for getting those people to do other things that take advantage of those skills that we've built in these people. Now, I am sure that just like we were talking about like cost savings and things like that, that this is going to be a cost savings because they're not going to have to pay medical and stuff like that. And I don't know the difference between the cost of how many people one robot replaces, if it's a 1-to-1 or a 1-to-10 or if it's a 1-to-50. I also don't know, you know, if it, you know, costs more than like a salary plus health insurance. There must be some sort of cost there. But from a human cost, I find this to be disgusting.
Yeah, it's pretty deplorable.
Yeah.
I think this is really a problem we have with companies, is that in a lot of ways legally we treat companies like individuals. And then there's kind of this understanding that like the company does good things for the worker by employing them and things like that. We look like massive shifts like that. We have to ask ourselves, what favorable positions did our human government put Amazon in to then have them kind of really break their social obligation of employing people?
Right.
You know, I struggle with the thinking about the long-term end game of choices like that. Like, let's just say like every company did that. Let's say every company, if it was possible for them to replace you with a robot that they just have. You know, there aren't retail workers anymore. There aren't low-level workers in a lot of industries anymore. Warehouses are just all automated. Every truck on the highway is automated. You know, when you fast forward to that world, there's so many problems you have to solve, even just as a business. It's like, who's buying your crap?
Yeah, who's buying your goods?
You know, Amazon, you're like the largest retailer in the world now, or maybe it's still Walmart. I'm not sure, but I mean, you're up there. People buy stuff on Amazon. I would be willing to bet that it is the king of online retail.
Oh, it absolutely is. Yeah.
You know, I know I've heard arguments that like Walmart online is pretty up there, but I don't. You know, it would be a gamble I'd be willing to take. I think it's close enough in the eyes of the people. So like, you gotta get people to buy your crap. On the drive over here, I bought a $12 piece of crap.
Yep.
I don't even remember what it was. I have vitamins. I had to up my vitamins, and I got it through them. It cost me $12. It was an easy purchase because I had $12. I had, not only did I have $12, I had $12 to pay for an optional thing.
Right.
You know, and not everybody does. I mean, I was talking with somebody just yesterday. They got a little bit of a windfall, and that was going to be great because one of the things they've been wanting to do is get a P.O. box. And money was so tight for them, they could not get a P.O. box at a post office. That person is not spending $12 to buy unnecessary vitamins.
No.
You know, you're going to self-cannibalize here at some point.
Yes.
You're making more money, and that's great for you, but you still require people to live. And I kind of think, and maybe this is getting way more political, I think people with a lot of money overestimate how willing the people who have resources are willing to deal with them.
Right.
Because, not saying that money would never be useful. I'm not saying we're in an apocalypse scenario. So now, what does Jeff Bezos have? Because the money isn't worth anything anymore. It's just that at the end of the day, the more money is restricted, the more people are going to find ways to survive without money. And so, like, if you're now a farmer and most of the people you're selling food to that are just like regular people are now like working in smaller markets or we're going back and doing some bartering stuff, or we're doing service stuff, or something like that. And then Jeff Bezos is like, hey, I'll pay you $100 million for your farm because I don't like that. I want to go back to money because I have money and I want more money. Do you really have that much leverage on the farmer if now they're able to fill a lot of their needs without money because they're doing other stuff with other people? You know, like maybe that's a bit of a stretch, but like I just think about, well, you know, we found out all these billionaires are building these like massive underground bunkers for like apocalyptic scenarios, or like what happens if global warming is really as bad as you think it is. And every time I just keep thinking, it's like, but that's still such a temporary solution.
Yeah, it's a very temporary
You're
thought
gonna have to
for
have
a
people in
long-term
there with
problem.
you.
Yeah.
And you're like, what you're hoping you can do is pay those people enough money that they'll be loyal to you, and that you can have 500 people working for you down there. And I'm just thinking, man, once those doors shut, money doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah, it's a very logical fallacy.
Yeah.
Like um, so going back to the beginning, I mean, basically, this is the problem that Henry Ford knew about.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he, for bad or good, was smart in this one area, and he knew that if he didn't pay and keep employed the people that he invested in to be his factory workers, his assembly line workers, stuff like that, those were the people who were actually going to buy his cars, and who were going to tell their, you know, siblings to buy his cars and stuff like that. Now, he still wasn't as forward thinking as we are right now talking about, but if Amazon wants to keep people buying the products that they hawk on Amazon, they need to make sure that those people have employment. If it's not with Amazon, it needs to be with someplace else. And the assumption that, well, people will get employed and that's not my problem is very short-sighted.
It really is, because I think we've got an interesting balance in this country. I mean, I think it works for the most part. You know, the economy's really not great the last year or two.
Right.
But like, we have a lot of service work. We have a lot of retail work. We have a lot of, I am somebody doing something for you because either it helps sell a product, or because maybe this is something you don't want to do.
Right.
And that really does run off the backs of there's a good chunk of this country who can work an office job and make some amount of money that they can then pay for those things.
Right.
Right? Like, you don't need that retail worker. Like, you can replace that retail worker with a robot, and that's fine. Like, you as a company, you're like, hey, I've saved money. But now, because those people don't have jobs, they're not consuming, and now you're just straining that resource. It's like the shrinking middle class over and over and over again until you don't have that. And then once collectively, like the enshittification of society, people don't go anywhere. It's like you know, again, not to bring it back to too much of a political topic, we won't talk about the political nature of it, but like the whole SNAP benefits thing that they're that's like getting really kind of perilous right now. That's like 43 million people. It doesn't matter how moral 43 million people are. Like, we say, just under no circumstances is it okay to steal. You know, I'm not saying I'm taking that opinion. I'm just saying, even if we took that opinion, even if we said, as a society, we agreed in all circumstances, it's never okay to steal. When it's 43 million people, we're talking 1% of that is 430,000. A tenth of a percent of that is 43,000 people. Let's just run it there. Let's say we're so good that we believe 99.9% of people won't steal food. Still 43,000 people who are about to go steal food out of your stores. And that's got a real impact on everybody.
Yep.
It's why we have all these social contracts. I mean, it's why Social Security exists, is because a lot of old people were showing up with no savings, and they're, you know, homeless on the street, and that's not great, or they're like dying in jobs, and that's not great, and it was affecting the other people. And so we said, they gotta have something. Everyone's got to have a minimum, just so that we don't have, you know, raider bands of geriatrics going around stealing what they need to survive, because they still need to survive. You know?
Also because Grandpa had like 10 kills in World War II and stuff like that. You know, like know that those people are capable of doing things, even if they're elderly.
Well, yeah, and I mean, gosh, even outside of that, even if they're not, 43,000 of them, what are you gonna do? It's a huge number, and we're never gonna get 99.9% of people who are hungry to say, "I would rather starve than eat food."
Right.
You will not do it.
Well, you've broken your the morals of stealing go out the window when you basically said, "I'm going to starve you."
Yeah, exactly. Like we for better or worse, right? I'm not going to say society has not had its problems for the entire time society's existed, right? Our history is people doing bad stuff to each other, and we do lots of good stuff too. But you can't point at a single decade anywhere in the world and be able to say, and then nothing bad happened anywhere for those 10 years. You can't.
Never happened.
It's never happened. There's too many people doing too many things, and people do bad things to each other. It's life.
Yep.
But we did build a lot of social contracts into our institutions that are very rapidly being eroded. And media was kind of a more recent one that I think is really getting problematic. I talk to a lot of people now who say, "Well, I just don't even read the news. The news is too depressing. I don't watch the news anymore. I don't read the news." And on one hand, it's like, yeah, I get that, because frankly, a lot of the news nowadays is sensationalized and it is really negative, and it does have a very big impact on your mental health. But now also the main way, historically, if we look at the last 100 years in this country, the main way people learn about what's happening in the world is now gone.
Yeah.
People would rather be ignorant of what's happening in the world than know what's happening in the world. That's a big step back.
And I mean, this goes back to that whole profit thing, right? Just bringing it back to Amazon, you're making profit, but now you're disenfranchising or pushing away, or
you're pushing people away,
making it so that they're not going to consume the thing that you're making, which you're trying to profit off of. So eventually you're going to lose profits because you're not having as many people buy or things like that. And we've seen that happen before many times with many retailers. Sears was one of them. They started, getting rid of people. They started, trying to maximize profits and stuff like that. And then, something came along that was a little bit better, and people were like, "I'm out," and they died quick too. It was 2-3 years. It was Sears and Roebuck was here, and then suddenly it was gone. Radio Shack was the same thing. It can happen to any of these big companies. They are just as easy to starve out as a human being is. And humans will last longer without food than companies generally without, money. And that's kind of the problem. As soon as a company starts hemorrhaging a little bit of money, humans can ration things out and they can struggle through things. I didn't mean, I realized, I saw that look on your face. I didn't mean a company goes for 7 days without food.
Yes, I understand what you're saying now, but yes, humans can handle lean times better than companies can handle lean times.
Absolutely.
Because as soon as they don't become a safe place for people to invest their money, they withdraw that money and they start the death spiral. Yeah.
That's what I meant. Sorry. I realized as soon as I said it.
I can live on 500 fewer calories a day longer than you can live on $5 million less a day.
Yes.
That type of deal. Okay.
Exactly.
I was just thinking, it's I don't know. I think Amazon's got a war chest bigger than 7 days.
That is true.
Yeah.
Amazon does. Cisco does. IBM does. All those companies do. But it only takes one turn to mess up their stock for people to pull out investments. True. It only takes one turn for, people to stop buying from them almost permanently. I mean, Kellogg's, is going through that right now. They've got it's Kellogg's, right? The company where the CEO was talking about poor people and how they can just eat cereal 3 times a day, and they blah 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 blah. He had this very callous thing that he did, and people just were like, nah, we're just going to stop buying from them. Now there's still some people that are buying from them, that are keeping them afloat, but for the most part they went from up here in profit to way down here. And that might turn around. That can always happen, but this is that sort of situation. You're talking about getting rid of all of your warehouse workers essentially. And where are they going to go? That's 600,000 people. That is not a small number.
No, that's not a small number. That's certainly much bigger than the city I grew up in. Might be bigger than the county I grew up in.
Mm-hmm.
At least at the time I was doing it when I was growing up in it. Yeah, it's not like dispersed across all of America. Sure, maybe that doesn't sound that big. It is only, when we say only, like what 0.2% of our population or
Right.
something like that, maybe less than that.
But it's not dispersed
But
all across America because those
yeah, they're in
workers
localized
are in
communities,
localized communities.
and like it's gonna be a huge blow to those,
Yeah.
especially because again, maybe taking it back closer, Amazon probably did not build that warehouse and pay for all of it.
Yep.
They probably got subsidies from those local governments. They probably have, even if they didn't get those, they've gotten massive tax breaks
Yep.
as part of this social contract of you're employing my people, so I make it easier for you to run business here. And then, at some point, has this done more damage to that local community? At a certain point, they don't let you build your warehouse for free anymore.
Yeah.
And you can take it somewhere else, but if your game plan is like, yeah, I want to build my warehouse, no, I'm not going to employ anybody. It's going to require a massive amount of electricity for the charging for all these robots, and I would like to buy electricity at a lower rate than you sell the people.
Yeah.
The question becomes why.
Yeah.
It's like the talk of some of these data centers is that like now certain data centers are saying things like, we want you to build us an electrical grid that's just for us to these cities, and they're like, why are we going to do that?
Yeah.
Well, because you're not employing people. You're just, we're getting some tax revenue out of you, sure, but like this is a data warehouse. This is not, you're not going to employ 100,000 of my people.
Because we've got a little extra money for you if you do it.
Yeah, so it always comes down to of like, oh, but you get us in these taxes, and we'll go do this thing for you.
Yeah.
And then like I won't say historically that's not worked. I mean, historically it has. I mean, they did the same thing in like the the 50s through the 80s. I mean, where we work right now, the Research Triangle Park's like that.
Yep.
North Carolina and the local governments gave tons of incentives for these companies to come down. But then they did also employ tens of thousands of people in high-paying jobs for a very long time.
Yes.
And
like, continue to still do that.
And continue to still do that. And now we've got like a nice airport here, and like there's a lot of business in this area now. That was a great decision they made back when these corporate offices were getting built.
But if all those jobs were robots, that would have been a bad decision.
It would have been a terrible decision. Yeah. It would have been awful.
This would basically be a wasteland at this point.
Yeah. There wouldn't be any. I mean, it'd still be the farmland it was before.
Yeah.
It wouldn't have expanded. You wouldn't have all these residential businesses. It's just like, and I don't know. I think tech has this problem bigger than most other industries. I think once you really are in the tech industry and you think about tech, there's a lot of people that think everything is like, it's like a computer, or it's like a network, or it's like a whatever.
Yeah.
Because you can draw those analogs really well. I mean, like any electronic in your life is essentially a computer now.
Mm-hmm.
Gone are the days that like a TV is really different from, a laptop, or is really different from whatever. They're all just the same crap in different sizes.
Right.
We've standardized the parts that are in them. Maybe you've got a specialty part here or there. But if you know how a computer works, you know about how 99% of the technology in your life works, including your fridge.
Yeah.
But you don't know it's that special fridge part. But man, the rest of that little board is exactly the same. But like humans are an ecosystem surviving in nature. We are animals. You can't compare a human appropriately to a computer.
Mm-mm.
And so I think we just make all of these decisions like, oh, it will be okay because it if you did this somewhere else, like when Google was launching Stadia again, when they were just like, of course Stadia will work wonderfully because everyone will just have to have good internet, because if you don't have good internet, you just will move to someone who will give you good internet. So they're incentivized to give you good internet and ignore resource scarcity.
Yep.
Which is a very human concept of like there's not infinite resources, there's not infinite ISPs, there's not infinite these other things. I exist in a world where there are restrictions, and same thing for these communities. At a certain point, it's just not cost effective, and it's certainly you're going to get a reputation for not being stable. You're in the pond and you're like, hey, I want to take a bunch of water out of this pond, and I'm not going to put as much water in. Well, then the pond goes dry, and then all the fish die. But way before then, the chemical imbalance has got off because there's not enough dilution, and then like it's maybe a better metaphor for like small town death. It's like when the jobs went away, some of the water went away. So now that we could support fewer fish, so some fish had to leave, or
Mm-hmm.
in nature they would have died, but in humans they leave for somewhere else, and then that balanced it okay for a little bit. But now the pond's still too small, and now the rate of
Mm-hmm.
evaporation's not good, and like it's gonna leave a void in these communities. It's really gonna hurt these communities. I mean, you know, we know this happens. It happened in like places like Detroit when
Yep.
car manufacturing went away.
I mean, car
You know.
manufacturing is exactly what's going to happen. You're going to go,
Mm-hmm.
and then you're going to struggle with getting those people to buy your cars in those areas,
Yeah.
and they're going to start stealing, or they're going to start doing things because you're not taking care of them anymore. And then you're
Mm-hmm.
going to say, well, these people, they're not working and they're not doing it. But
You took their
had
job away.
that was your responsibility to make sure that they still had their jobs.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's talk about SpaceX doing something good.
Okay.
So SpaceX, with their Starlink satellites, they disabled a whole bunch of them that they had given out to scammers.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so they had like some scammers in Malaysia that were using that to like run a call center, and then they'd move the call center when people started like catching up with them, and they set it back down and do it again. Well, SpaceX figured out that they were using it for that, and they disabled it. I just want to say kudos where kudos is found.
Yeah.
Good job.
I will say it's good that we've disabled those. I will say I'm a little surprised you had to be told by the government to do that.
That was going to be my other thing.
They were asked to do it. They has to help it, and they identified the stuff. Like the government sees some and said, "Hey, these are ones being used for it. Find other things in here." But I guess it's maybe a problem with provisioning because they're not allowed to be in those countries, and that's the thing that kind of stood out to me was like maybe what it was is they set them up in countries that it was okay, and then they smuggled them into the countries. So like Starlink isn't involved in that. Starlink's just saw, hey, I'm getting a provisioning request for a device that I ship to this country, so I know it's in a place I'm allowed to do business, and so now I work. And they just don't have the geolocation rechecking of like, but now it's in a country I'm not allowed to operate in.
Yeah, I don't know enough about that. They
yeah.
should have some way of checking that. I mean, there's ways to do it, but
yeah, but still, they still turned them off, and that's good. And because those people were paying money, Starlink's not free.
Yep.
They did take an operating loss, and that's good. And I'm glad they're doing their part to keep these scam call centers out of people's inboxes and stuff. But just also like, and this is kind of the problem with scamming stuff. I used to watch YouTubers who would like. That was their whole thing. Is they'd get a scammer on the phone,
and then they keep them going.
They keep them going, and you'd watch the people freak out, and they got so mad because it used to kind of, from our understanding of how it works, like, oh, this is kind of a bad person doing a bad thing, and now they're just upset that they got caught. But now that that scamming is such a big business, it's like, no, this is a call center that just like has slaves.
Yeah.
Like, hey,
these people aren't necessarily bad people.
We liberated the call center, and they showed us the scars, and they showed us the like threats to their family, or the like. Well, we told them we had a job for them, and we helped them move here to the country, and then it turned out the job was this call center, and we locked them in the building.
Right.
And it's like now it's just like true cruelty stuff happening in a lot of these like big call centers. I'm not saying that like call centers that aren't just bad people that are doing bad things don't still exist, but there's now like big business in human trafficking to call centers, and it's so disgusting the whole way around because it's just organized crime but digital.
Yeah. Well, it's people being bad to each other.
Yeah. Exactly. People, not this decade. You didn't get 2020s. We'll try again 2030s and see if we can get a decade.
That's not like that.
Yeah.
Well, so anyways. This has been season 8. Oh, wait a second. We got to talk about the beer. Have you had it since it's warmed up a little bit?
I did a little bit ago. I'm going to try it fresh.
Okay. I'll let you think about that for a moment. I've been sipping it as we've been going along.
It's not that different. I like it a little bit less. I think the pumpkin comes out more, but the bitterness also comes out more. The balance isn't as good.
Yeah, I agree. It's a little bit more bitter. Actually, there is a flavor that goes away the warmer it gets, the more it's like had time to be out. And so there's like this really hoppy bitterness that was there. So it's a little bit more bitter than it was. It was more sweet, cold, I guess. It's developed a little bit more of a bitter taste, but the hoppy bitterness that I was tasting is gone.
Yeah. Yeah, there's something to be said about that. I'm not educated enough to be able to use the right words to describe what I'm about to try and describe.
Yeah.
But there is a sharpness to the bitterness when it's cold, and there is a greater amount of bitterness when it's warm, but it's not as sharp.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
it's spread across the whole thing, but you
Mm-hmm.
just get like a punch of it when it's cold.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know. It's the same almost. Just you take your licks where you want them. So
Yeah, it's not that different.
yeah,
If you take an hour to drink this beer while you're sitting on the couch, you're not going to really notice a big change.
yeah,
You know.
and some of that'll be like the flavor will kind of meld in your palate as it
Mm-hmm.
goes along because you get used to it and stuff. So, anyways, try it if you want it. If not, it is a limited release. If not, they'll probably have another one next year.
Yeah,
To
there'll be a
try.
new version.
It's not anything to write home about though. So this has been season 8, episode 21 of the Beer and Broadband podcast, slated to come out on November 17th, 2025. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll catch you next time.